Hello and welcome all the way from our New Zealand studio. It's 2026. We made it. If you're here listening for the first time, or you have been a subscriber since the beginning, welcome to what will be a huge year for the threat landscape. The team and I are convinced this new year will come with more dynamic and disruptive events, so it's never been more important to stay up to date with risks and mitigations. Every year, we set a new mission here at Unbreakable Ventures. As January unfolds, we've settled on our next one. And that is to not just report and share our advice on how to navigate the threat landscape, but to actually go and live it. In 2026, half our team will be relocating and working from more exotic parts of the world. I myself will be in Malaysia in a few weeks. My personal goal is to go and visit some inspiring and highly experienced resilience professionals. This includes the experts out of the Philippines, as well as a trip to Taiwan, Japan, and Singapore. This physical presence will evolve how we bring you content and experiences, as well as provide a more global perspective on risk and resilience. Anyway, most of us are starting to crawl back to the office this week. I don't know about you, but my holidays seem to disappear quicker than a Christmas pudding. And during time off, a heck of a lot happened when it comes to global threat updates. The big story being the United States military operation in Venezuela, which has caused broader geopolitical tensions. Additionally, friction like we've never seen before is increasing between the US, Greenland, and Denmark, a potential crisis that could change NATO forever. Political reform out of Iran has caused mass unrest and protest. The change in political standing perhaps removes one of America's greatest foes. The Russia-Ukraine war continues with no sign of slowing, while the Israel-Hamas war's uneasy ceasefire and its regional implications carried through into early 2026. And of course, not to forget the terrible, deadly mass shooting at Bondi Beach in Australia that has raised major concerns for how police are monitoring extremists. Over the holidays, I reread Nicholas Taleb's The Black Swan, and it reminded me the importance in understanding and reacting to this phenomenon. Black Swan events are fascinating, but they're also bleak. Taleb starts his book exploring how, up until September 10th, 2001, no pilot locked their cockpit door. It's tough reporting on these events that can fundamentally change the risk landscape as we know it, or events so impactful they create reform, laws, and how we live our lives. But there is plenty of good news out there too. As risks get more advanced, people are getting more resilient and diligent about what's out there. This is nowhere more evident than in the comments section of an AI-generated image or video. People are just more cautious and questioning what they see. I think this is a good thing. It means our colleagues think twice when something seems off. This will help when it comes to cultural resilience. But with that in mind, I want to bring you up to today's updates. Coming up on the first episode for 2026, we explore what happens when a flood, a port bottleneck, and a political decision hit the same supply chain in the same month. We take a look at Everstream's warning that this year disruption stops being a single event and becomes a compounding multi-region failure across tiers you do not even see. Then we'll explore how ransomware gangs are accelerating attacks on transport and logistics, as well as jump into some quick fire updates. It's Monday the 12th of January, our first episode of 2026. So grab a coffee and let's get into it. Welcome to Unbreakable Ventures. I'm Ollie Law and you are listening to our fortnightly risk update where we dive into emerging and current risks from around the world, focusing on some big stories and some you may have missed. We use the categories from the World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report to simplify the threats we're monitoring, but we also do some deep dives and interviews with industry peers. In 2026, disruption is not just more frequent, it is more connected. Everstream Analytics is effectively saying this. Stop planning for one bad week and start planning for overlapping failures. The core risk is compounding disruption. A climate shock hits, infrastructure is strained, and geopolitics adds friction at the same time. That matters because recovery is changing shape. Suppliers might reopen, but stay constrained by labour gaps, damaged routes, or repeat weather events. Everstream are essentially saying that we should think of this like a motorway crash at rush hour. Even after the wreck is cleared, the traffic jam continues for hours. Everstream is also pushing a shift in planning style. Less faith in supplier scorecards and more focus on network mapping. Network mapping means understanding your sub-tier dependencies. It means knowing where your choke points are and which routes actually have alternatives. For many businesses, the blind spot is Tier 2 and Tier 3. Your Tier 1 looks fine until their upstream single point of failure breaks. This is really what we need to be better at in 2026, and we're already seeing examples, particularly in the cyber world, where this can cause huge impacts, if not mitigated. So, who should care most about Everstream's findings? Manufacturers with regionally concentrated components and tight production schedules are without question the highest risk. But so too are retailers and consumer brands running promotions and tight margins. Volatility punishes tight replenishment and forces costly expediting. And logistics providers whose network design assumes stable lanes and zero disruption. When nodes fail, you are forced to re-optimize in real time, which, as we've seen in 2025, is not good practice. Now, this isn't to say the practical takeaway is to avoid the just-in-time strategy, but it is to say that just-in-time now has to coexist with redundancy and earlier commitments. So what can you actually do without turning your balance sheet upside down? First, build a disruption portfolio, not a single plan. Treat disruption as repeatable patterns. Weather, labor, infrastructure, and geopolitical constraints, each with triggers and playbooks. Second, map critical sub-tier dependencies for high-impact products. Find the upstream single points of failure, then validate alternates. Third, design route optionality into contracts. Optionality is cheapest before the incident and most expensive during it. Fourth, stress test inventory policy against multi-week disruption. Decide which items deserve buffers and where substitution or postponement reduces fragility. And finally, pressure test your resilience claims. If you say you are resilient, prove it with scenario exercises and supplier validation. Before we move on to our second threat update this week, let's look at 5 quick fire emerging threats we've picked up throughout the last month. These will be noteworthy stories we think you should know about, but less detailed than our 2 core threats analysed. A Yahoo Finance report flags that cyber incidents are increasingly disrupting normal enterprise operations. The key point is that digital downtime is now an operations problem, not just an IT problem. Identity outages, SaaS disruption, and third-party compromise can stop work even when your servers are fine. This is showing up as real-world service impact. Honda has extended a production halt in China linked to a supplier disruption described as the Nexperia crisis. This is another reminder that semiconductor constraints can rapidly become OEM stoppages. The story also points to Dutch government intervention affecting Nexperia, a chip maker with Chinese ownership. Remember, sometimes state actions can constrain capacity in ways that look like supplier failure. A feature by the publication Machinery argues that 2026 manufacturing strategy is being shaped by repatriation and intelligent cobots. They identified that the risk is a gap between strategy and execution. Onshoring without solving labor and productivity constraints can stall processes. Automation without change management can introduce quality, safety, and reliability issues. The feature argues that this year, manufacturers need to dig deeper in order to come out on top when it comes to almost any type of disruption. Failure to do so will be a competitive disadvantage. City AM reports UK businesses are being warned about disruption from a surge in protests. This can affect staff access, deliveries, and customer footfall, especially in dense urban areas. It is a continuity issue as much as a security issue. And if you operate in shared premises, other tenants' disruption is often your disruption too. In this new year, it's important to validate and mitigate the likelihood of poor resilient structures from your neighbours. Raconteur reports ransomware pressure is rising on UK mid-market firms. The theme is capability mismatch. These firms have meaningful complexity but often lack enterprise depth in security and recovery. Ransomware impact is not abstract. It becomes invoicing delays, payroll disruption, and customer churn. Stakeholder and customer expectations will shift this year. No longer can firms play the victim game. It's about meaningful recovery, fast. Further sources and references can be found in the footnotes of this podcast. But without further ado, let's look at our second threat update this week. If you want leverage over a business, mess with their schedule. Stop a truck, freeze a warehouse, and break the promise of delivery by simply targeting IT infrastructure, and you'll create a cascading crisis. A Cyble report carried by Verindia highlights a surge in ransomware activity targeting transport and logistics. The reason is simple. This sector is built on uptime and interdependence. When a logistics firm goes down, the blast radius spreads immediately. Pickups are missed, warehouses stall, customs timelines slip, and penalties cascade through contracts. And the pressure is not only on back-office IT. Attackers can hit fleet operations, warehouse management, shipment visibility platforms, and customer portals. That creates multiple pressure points for extortion. Even if you can still move goods, you might not be able to prove where they are. There is also a systemic angle here. If a major logistics node is compromised, your business can be disrupted even if your systems are clean. So who might be most at risk here? Transport operators, freight forwarders, and warehousing businesses running tight coordination. Manufacturers running lean production with time-definite inbound flows. A short outage at a carrier or third-party platform can halt lines. Retailers dependent on DC throughput and last-mile partners. Backlogs compound fast, and recovery can take days after systems return. And any firm using shared logistics platforms. Multi-tenant vendors can become single points of failure across many customers. So what can you do now practically without pretending this is only an IT problem? First, treat logistics systems like critical infrastructure. That means hardening access controls around TMS, WMS, telematics, and scan and label environments, and separating them from general corporate IT where possible. Second, prove you can recover without paying. Maintain offline backups and run restore drills that include shipping and dispatch workflows. Third, contract for cyber resilience, not just uptime. Set expectations on breach notification, recovery objectives, and evidence-based controls like MFA. Fourth, reduce blast radius, segmentation, least privilege, and monitoring for abnormal access in dispatch and warehouse accounts. And one more thought linking nicely back to our first story. Just like compounding climate disruption, cyber disruption now cascades across tiers. If you do not map dependencies, you do not see the real risk until it is too late. If you start this new year with only one habit, let it be the act of knowing the environment in which you operate. Because failure to do so could mean your first and last black swan. That's it for today's update. If you need help navigating these threats or building a plan to protect your business, the same advisors who collate these insights are here to help. Head over to unbreakableventures.com to book a complimentary chat online with one of them. And if you found this resource useful, consider subscribing to Unbreakable Ventures or sharing the article with your network. After all, resilience is about community and communication. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, stay safe.
Unbreakable Ventures is brought to you by the Senior Advisory Team at Fixing, a boutique resilience advisory based in the Oceania, ASEAN and India regions. Special thanks to our sponsor and Europe's leading SaaS provider for resilience software, F24. Our resources are researched and published by industry specialists across New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia and the UK. This podcast provides advice and opinion on disaster recovery and the threat landscape. The content is not a substitute for expert guidance during a crisis. Unbreakable Ventures is trademarked by Fixing Consulting Partners, a Fixing Group company.